Hi, it's Mrs. Big Bird, Debbie Spinny, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it.
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Happy here with us. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Duffenbaugh. With me today, as always, our co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going, my friend?
Doing good. Hello, everybody. How are you, Jake?
Doing great as always, Chris. Thank you for asking.
Yes, and we had a wonderful interview for you folks. Someone who has a very had a very deep connection to someone who made a long-lasting impact on generations, and Jake will tell you a little bit about it. Jake, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. Today's guest we have in this wonderful episode. This is another special episode, and I'll explain why. As all of you might know, especially what we have in the background, of course, we got to speak another wife from a legend Muppet performer. First was Deborah Spinney, wife of Carol Spinney, and this one is the wife of Jerry Nelson. Yes, that's right, everyone. We got to speak with Mrs. Nelson herself, Jan Nelson. We'll touch base on her life in general and her passion of art and cartooning and how she first got to meet Jerry for the first time and her opinions on the Muppet projects that Jerry got to do over the years with the Muppets, Sesame, and other things, as well as the characters that he got to perform as well, and how Jerry was as a person, and many more. So without further ado, hope you all enjoy this special chat with Mrs. Nelson. See you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Today we have us is the amazing Jan Nelson. Welcome, Jan. Welcome. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Delighted to have you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, definitely a lot of wonderful pleasures indeed for having you on. So thank you very much, Jan, for taking time to do this. We much appreciate it. To kick things off, we know who you are, but for those who don't, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, Jerry Nelson was my husband. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but that's what it was. And I am an artist, and I did a lot of cartooning, and I've had a great big life.
That's
That,
awesome.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
you could ask questions, and I'll do my best.
Absolutely. So,
Great to hear then.
what was your childhood like? Before, meeting Jerry and, getting to experience that whole world.
Yeah. Oh, it was good. I had great parents. My father was an artist, and my mother played the piano. She was a pianist. And there, I grew up in the suburbs in New Jersey, not very far from New York City. And, it was pretty normal, um, kind of a normal middle class upbringing. And I drew a lot of cartoons. That was my whole thing when I was a kid. Not like Marvel Comics kind of cartoons. It was more like,
Right.
you see a lot of graphic novels and that was kind of more my style, even though that hadn't been invented yet, at least not to my knowledge. Um, but I did cartoons about myself having adventures because basically my life was pretty boring. And then, I went through a period of yeah, I had like chronic bronchitis for several years. And I was home a lot in the winter. And that's what I did. I just drew me having these terrific adventures and stuff. So and I still do it now,
That's
That's
great.
that's
terrific
wonderful.
adventures. I put, I make up stories about my life and pretty much adhering to reality.
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah.
That's wonderful. It's actually a perfect transition, actually, because of course you already touched base on drawing. But I'm kind of curious, of course, you got to drawing and creating art, and of course, I want to know about this. How does your love with art, began for you? If that makes any sense.
Uh, yeah, it does. Uh, I almost hate to say this. I don't know if this is embarrassing or not, but when I was very little, like, I don't know, 2 or 3, and I was being potty trained by my mother, and I had a little potty seat, and she put a big pad on my lap, and I would sit there and draw, So
Oh
that
my gosh.
Hmm.
I know that was kind of the beginning, and I just always drew, and I had a lot of fun with it. And my father was, well, he was an artist, but what he did for money was he was what we call now a graphic designer, but he was basically what they called then a commercial artist. So he dealt with printers and stuff. He was an art director at a Sunday news magazine, and he would bring home pads from the printers, from the suppliers that he hired, and like pads of beautiful ledger bonds and stuff. And I had this beautiful, big, clean white paper to draw on all the time. And it was great. So that was where my love of, and then I wanted to be like my father because he was such a great guy and so much fun. And so I wanted to do what he did.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's great. So now, because I've seen, you talk about, actually kind of being aware of Sesame Street even before meeting Jerry. What can you kind of talk about, like, your thoughts about, this new show that, of course, would become such an icon for generations?
Yeah. Um, well, I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and my daughter was 2 years old. And I had these, upstairs neighbors, and we were friends and everything. And they would say that one day they said, this is great children's show. You have to watch it. It's not just for kids, it's for grown-ups too. You love this show. So I took my daughter upstairs because they had a color TV, and they said I had to watch it in color. And it was it was Sesame Street. It was wonderful. And we were so amazed by it. And I remember them saying they had to be high. They had to be high to make this show because it was very psychedelic, like even the cartoons, which I heard later that Jim Henson did a lot of the early, like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Right. Hmm.
Yeah,
you know, with all that kind of stuff going on. And I don't know, I loved it. So of course my daughter was watching it all the time. And within a couple of months, and she was really young, she was like 2 or something, but she knew the alphabet completely and could count to 100, which that was amazing. Kids didn't, before that, they didn't learn that fast. I mean, once they got to kindergarten, yeah, but
right.
Right, but Sesame Street, they have to, the way they did it is to make the kids, know more about, those type of things before
yeah.
the show even exists.
Yeah, I know it was great, and plus they had really, you know, really amazing guests on, and there
Oh
was
yeah,
just there was so much activity, and it was interesting. I whenever I could watch the show with my daughter, I would, because it was, and that evidently, I've of course since then I've read about Sesame Street and the history and everything, and the fact that. Um, it was set up, and like part of it was to have the parents watch with the kids instead of
yeah,
being separate and everything.
Right.
yeah. which is so wonderful about that, you know. Now, of course, of course, we want to know about this. Now, of course, because that time is when you finally got start, got to met Jerry for the first time. Now, like, how do you kind of hang up, meeting him, and then but become your future husband? What was that? What was that whole like experience that
But
you two kind of
it
like first
was
like met?
it was pretty it seemed really normal at the time. You know, I was single, of course, by that time. I first husband, my daughter's father, and I had split up. And so I was, by this time, I had moved out to Hoboken, New Jersey. And I had heard about Jerry just because uh, he hung out with approximately the same people that I hung out with in Greenwich Village, which is
Hmm.
the place that I lived before I moved to Hoboken. And so I heard stories about him. He played the guitar, he was really musical, and he worked on Sesame Street. And, you know, so then one one night, my friends who I had a couple that lived downstairs from me. These are different friends, not the same ones, but they said Jerry Nelson is coming over and stuff, and do you want to meet him? And I
Hmm.
said, yeah. And so I went down. Thing is that I wasn't thinking much about it, but he was talking several rooms away, and I could hear his voice. And I just loved the voice, And then, I walked the couple of rooms and was introduced to him. And he was just a great guy with such personality and so much warmth. And, we hit it off right away. And, we went out
Mm.
and we it's hard to even say dated. We hung out basically more than anything. And then after about a year, we got engaged. And then a
That's
year after
wonderful.
that, we got married on the beach, Cape Cod, which is where he loved to go in the summer, and I had already been there with him a bunch of times the summer before. And it all worked out.
And Cape Cod is where I am
That's so
too.
lovely.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm in Truro. Where are you?
nice. Harwich.
Oh, Harwich. Okay, you're not very far.
All right, yeah. So, so now can you share like any first, memories from, I guess, meeting Jerry?
Uh, yeah, first meeting him, he was working. Wait a minute. I don't know if he was doing. Well, right after I met him, he had to go to Toronto because they were just starting Fraggle Rock,
Hmm.
and he had. Uh, are you familiar with Fraggle Rock?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, huge fans of that show. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so
Gobo.
they gave,
Yeah.
yeah, Jim gave him a lot because during the Muppet Show, he hadn't had any of the really big characters because it's kind of a long story. Maybe I won't go into that, but kind of as because they thought he would be good and because they're kind of paying back, they gave him like major characters, Fraggle Rock, Gobo, and the Hogorg, and Head Doozer, and Marjorie the Trash Heap. And is there another one? No, I think that was it. Yeah, but that was big enough. And so he was working there. So the first year that we were just seeing each other, he was there. And I remember while he was up there, he invited me up to go to like the company picnic in the spring, or no, it was early summer. At any rate, I showed up. I mean, I flew up there, and I don't know why I went to this picnic in a bathing suit that I realized later, not later, during the picnic, that was way too small. It's like, I don't know, it's like one of the most embarrassing. When I think back on it, I wasn't even going to tell you this, but when you said memory of something,
Hmm.
that's the first memory I have, or, but it was okay. No, everybody liked me anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, it was like a family. I remember that, thinking that this is the best family. All the people that worked for Jim Henson were
Oh
incredible.
yeah,
They are,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
and
Lots of wonderful names in the Muppet field. They're wonderful. Um, so now, of course, I'm kind of curious. What's it like? Actually getting to visit the Sesame set for first time. Like when they got to first time seeing Jerry doing what he's doing for Sesame. Like you kind of like talk about your experience seeing it.
walking onto Sesame Street was so wonderful. I mean, the set, first of all, I mean, here it is, kind of almost for real, because it's not really, but it was so cool. And so watching Jerry work was great. As a matter of fact, during our whole marriage, we were married for 28 years. Um, it was every time I watched him work, I gained new respect for him because he was so good. He was such a professional. He could, um, do it in one take instead of having to, take 23. Like, ugh. But no, like especially Jerry and Richard Hunt, like could
Yeah.
do the two-headed monster literally in one take. They do it once, and the director would say, well, let's just do it again for the can, just say that they had done a second take. And it was marvelous. It was so good to watch. And it was funny. I mean, I could read the script beforehand and think, this isn't very good. This is pretty boring. But when they did it, Jerry would put a different spin on it, and it suddenly was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Two-headed monster,
Yes.
definitely a
Yeah.
funny character.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Richard and Jerry. Richard had a house, like a summer house here at Truro on the bay. And
Hmm.
or did you don't know this. Anyway, several years, Jerry and I would rent the house next door, and they all had, front porches, and Richard would stand on his front porch, and Jerry would stand on our front porch, and they do the two-headed monster back and forth, you know, and that was great.
Absolutely. So now, what are some of your memories from getting to meet the rest of the Muppet performers? I know you just mentioned Richard.
Yeah, right. The first time they weren't even where they are now in Queens. Um,
Right.
the studio was at Ninth Avenue of Unitel. And I forget who I met first. I think I met Jim first. And
Yeah.
then Carol Spinney and just everybody, everybody who was there. And they were just so sweet and so natural and warm. I felt like I was instantly accepted. So that was good.
That's
That's
wonderful.
wonderful. That's so great. So, of course, Jerry got to performing his earliest characters for Sesame, for example, Harry Monster, Little Jerry,
Yeah.
Fairly, and Sherlock Hemlock. Can you kind of like, talk about his performances. You getting to do those characters.
You know, I was trying to think. I was kind of a late addition. I mean, he had already been working for quite a while before I met him. Because I met him in, I guess, I don't know, 82, maybe 81, 82. And we got married in 84, but I was on the scene before we got married for sure. They He always said he developed voices. When they had him a puppet, say it's supposed to be this and that, and he'd develop a voice. And um, he said he just did bad imitations of actors and the things that he knew to come up with a voice, like the Count. He said it's just Dracula. It's a bad imitation of Dracula. And see who else? I know he did tell me a specific name for uh oh no, Harry Monster. I wish I could remember. That's a problem, is that this stuff is starting to disappear.
Mhm.
But
No worries.
it was somebody, Jimmy Durante or somebody like that.
Right. Absolutely. So now, Jerry also originated the role of another character who would become super iconic in the Sesame world, Mr. Snuffleupagus or
Yeah.
Snuffy. And now, of course, Snuffy started out as a character that really no one else saw besides Big Bird. So what was it like? Can you talk a bit about, kind of Jerry's performance with that character?
Yeah. It was, I think, did he do it? Was Snuffleupagus two people or no?
It
I
was, yeah. Snuffleupagus has always been it because it was Jerry and someone else at first, and then
Richard.
Kurt, yeah,
I
and
think it was
Richard,
Richard. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Richard
Kurt.
got the back. That's the first thing that Jerry told me. And and one thing he said one summer, they put the puppets away, and somebody had put cabbage in Snuffleupagus, and
Oh
it
wow.
made it absolutely impossible after that. But anyway, it's so funny about that because when I met Jerry, he was no longer doing Snuffleupagus. Mark
Right.
Robbins, yeah,
I
and
love Mario. He's the best.
isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
and of course the wonderful Bryant
He's
Young
great.
for doing the back end as
Yeah, of
well.
course. He's
yeah,
awesome too.
right, right. But anyway, uh, I didn't know that Jerry had done Snuffleupagus, and yet I had watched the early Sesame Streets, and I remember Jerry was just because that was kind of one of the things that Jerry said once in a while was, "Oh dear," and I thought, wait a minute, that sounds just like Snuffleupagus, and I asked him if he had started the character, and he said yes. So it was pretty cool, and I picked it up.
Right, yeah.
Right. 'Cause, when back then it was like when Snuffy was like not a lot of people don't really know about because it was just his imaginary friend when it was actually his friend, but that's when like a long while that's when I finally get to actually get to see Snuffy like actually,
Yeah, yeah,
because people don't, because the first they didn't believe him he was real,
yeah,
so it's kind
yeah.
of interesting.
Yeah, I wish that I don't know if I ever saw that. I've seen a lot of them. I mean, either during the time when my daughter was little and watching them, or later on. But and also in just seeing the shows like reruns and then on VCR and then on DVD. I I
Yeah.
like Street. I really like Sesame Street.
Absolutely.
As well, yes, absolutely, and it's pretty crazy. I can tell like how the way you first got to see the set for the first time, even when you got to watch the show beforehand and then again actually see what actual the show actually does. Yeah, I can tell you were like, wow.
Yeah,
Like everyone
that was
knows, it's the first
Just
time
mind
see.
blown. Yeah.
it really was. And I forget what I was going to say now. Um, yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that's wonderful. And like with Snuffy and Big Bird's friendship over the years, like there's such a wonderful bond and that in that whole franchise even and the pairing between Jerry and Carol when Jerry was still doing Snuffy I'm sure
yeah,
they're so wonderful how the way
yeah,
they do the characters together kind of collaborative you know.
yeah. It was great. And Carol is such a sweetheart. He's
Oh
so
yeah.
good.
It's the same with Debbie, of course.
Oh
She's
yeah.
she's the
Yeah, Debbie's
best.
a dear friend. She's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry used to talk about their house, and well, I saw Debbie for real a couple of months ago. I was always going to go visit their house with Jerry because it's actually between, um, you know, the apartment where we lived right outside of New York City in New Jersey and Cape Cod, which was kind of a frequent trip. And so we were always going to stop there. We never did. Time goes on. And then after Carol passed, um, Debbie and I, got together more and talked about it because it's pretty kind of a heavy
Um,
thing to go through. And
yeah.
finally, after all these years, I was able to stop off on my way driving up here in the fall and visit with her. And the house is incredible. It's Jerry used to describe it as being like a cuckoo clock. It was just all these things, it's actually indescribable. I mean, I think Debbie describes it as like a Swiss chalet, kind of.
Right.
But
Okay.
it's a lot more
Yeah.
than that. It's just amazing. There's so many details that you know, it's really good. That's all I could say.
That's great.
Yeah.
And a lot of land around it. The Carol designed, I mean, with like
A lot of
earth.
Carol stuff on there.
Yeah, it's so cool. And like
Yep.
lakes and mountains and stuff, they had a lot of property, have a
That,
lot of property.
that's awesome. So now, of course, Jerry also originated the role of who would become another one of his most kind of prominent characters on the show, the Count. What was it like getting to see him perform, that character, especially of how, iconic, the Count would become?
Yeah, it was, of course, like everything, it was great seeing him perform. And I actually, there was a lot of Jerry in the Count, which made it a very deep character. I mean, he could kind of handle the dark side of the Count, which if I don't know, that's I don't know if that's a good concept or not, but uh with all the, because of the thunder and lightning and the bats and all that.
Yeah. Ha ha ha. And the
Yeah.
Yeah.
usual iconic.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was always surprised when he'd meet people and they would say something like, "Oh, the Count was my favorite character." And Jerry really took
Oh,
that with a grain of salt. He didn't think so. He said, "Yeah, you're right," because a lot of kids also were scared of the Count. You know.
right.
Right. Because not
Just
just
because
a
of
not just his look, but also with the inserts he was in, like kind of the spooky setting of like, he's in the castle with like the bats and the thunder and lightning and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty dark.
Yeah, right. But yeah,
Yeah.
the Count's definitely one of my favorite characters, I'd say, on the
Yeah.
show and
Yeah.
like in general.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. One of
Count's
my favorite
awesome.
characters, but
Yeah, right.
or
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, I want to talk, briefly about the big bad wolf. So what was that
oh,
kind of like,
I love the
that?
big. Was that the one? There was one, and I don't know if that was part of Sesame Street or not, but it was Miss Piggy was the little pig who built her house of bricks, and then she had the two dumb pigs as brothers. Did you see that?
Yeah, I might have seen that. I might remember that.
I don't
It's
know
been a
if
while.
it was a one-off. I don't think it was. I don't think that version was
Maybe
part of
maybe it was
it.
Muppet Classic Theater. That sounds like something from that.
Could have been, but it cracked me up just about more than anything. It was very funny.
Oh yeah, love that
Curious
character.
Bad Wolf.
Absolutely. So now this may
Yeah.
be a tough question to answer, but do you have any favorite, I guess, Sesame Street episodes or songs that focus on Jerry's characters? I guess kind of sticking with characters that were kind of on the show the most, like the Count or Harry.
Uh, well, I like Dr. Strange Pork, Pigs in Space. In fact,
Oh yeah, Doctor Strange
I
Pork,
th
yeah.
when I felt depressed, I would ask Jerry to do that character. I mean, just like riding in the car, if there was something I wasn't feeling that great about, I'd say, do Strange Pork. He could talk to me in Strange Pork. So that worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the inserts that, Harry got to talk to the kids,
Yeah.
for example, one of them is Harry called him Little John, and then the
Yeah.
grown up John got
Yeah.
to
Oh,
do
yeah,
that.
that's great.
Hey,
Oh,
Tay.
that was so nice. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the
Yeah.
Count, I mean, definitely a song that comes to mind is, of course, the Batty Bat. That's a classic song.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, you know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, and then and then your usual segment that what Count does, with the num with yeah, the number, the number of the day, where the piano gets what
The
day.
keyboard, the organ, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Oh
one.
yeah, 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 it's
Stuff.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So now, I'm kind of curious. If you do remember any of those characters, I think we might have talked a little bit of it anyway. But just want to ask though, is there any favorite one-off characters that Jerry got to perform on Sesame?
One of his favorites was Ross Parrott. And
Hmm.
again, this is back when Ross Perot ran for president. I don't
Hmm.
know, did get to and I don't remember. Uh, no, I think he did. I think he got to the point where, he got the Republican nomination. So, uh, yeah, but it, Jerry was on the, was it? It was a morning news show as Ross Parrott. Yeah, yeah, I think that was it. In other words, he would made like regular TV with that character, and he liked the character.
Oh yeah, Ross Parrott. Yeah, I remember seeing Ross Parrott on some episodes. Yeah, he's a funny character.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wouldn't speak politics. He'd always speak about the alphabet and stuff like that.
Right,
He
yeah.
insisted on that. He insisted on it before he went on the news that he wasn't going to talk about politics.
Right,
Probably a good
Yeah.
thing.
right. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, going back to with the characters quickly, with Mr. Johnson, I
Oh, I love that
I
too. Yeah, you're
I
reminding
love that
me.
character
Oh,
too.
that's great.
yeah, and
That's
speaking of dynamics, similarly when we talk about, Jerry and Carol, with Jerry and Frank doing those inserts, it was just so funny.
I know that we're I know most of the time it was like how like is when he's like angry about something. He just wanted to do that with Mr. Johnson, and it's just the funniest thing.
Yeah,
Like those
well,
inserts, like in the restaurants where
yeah, like
Grover just
when
messed up
Grover's
and stuff. So funny.
working at Charlie's or as a cab driver, I think there was one where he was like working at the concession stand in like a baseball game or something. Like there were a lot of
And
funny
Grover just
ones.
mess up. Yeah, and Grover just mess
Yeah.
up like every single order, and Mr. Johnson being so angry about it. I'm sure both of them did have a lot of fun doing those segments. I can
Oh,
tell
I'm
though.
so sure. Well, Jerry didn't have to go very far to reach that part of himself that would get
Right.
furious
Because
about.
that's how Mr. Johnson is, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I just saw one. I'm just trying to think if you said it to me, Jake, if it was the one with Mr. Johnson working in the airport. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, to where Mr. Johnson was going to go to South
oh yeah, go to
America,
South America.
but
Grover's
then
the
Grover
waiter.
just keep messing up that Mr. Johnson just because of Grover, he basically missed the train or
Mrs.
whatever to go or
The
plane
plane.
to go to there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jerry was in real life, such a freak about getting to the airport early. When we'd have to get literally to the airport 3 hours early. That was, you know, I had a grandmother that used to have to get to the airport 3 hours early, and we used to totally roll our eyes at that and everything. Well, and then Jerry having to, ah, but he hated to run, and forget about missing a plane. He did not want to do that.
Right. You don't want any chance, you know.
Yeah, so he must have, I just thought about it, must have been frustrating even doing that bit with Grover.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So now who are some of Jerry's favorite celebrities that he worked with over the years on Sesame Street?
Well, let me think. I don't, the Muppet Show was where the celebrities he would talk about because it was just about
Ah,
everybody.
gotcha. Well, yeah, well, who are some of his favorites from the Muppet Show days?
Uh, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. He said he
Oh,
practically,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
because they were from his childhood. And, he just was so, it was it was, they were a couple of the only stars that he was almost afraid of, that he was so impressed, you know. And plus, he had kind of he was like one of those kids who wanted to be a cowboy himself. So, uh, yeah, but there were everybody. I mean, I was just trying to think. I don't know if I could say favorite. I think Harry Belafonte and Jerry
Oh
got
yeah,
this.
it's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were so many, and I can't even think of one. Um, Cleo Lane, and John Dankworth. I don't remember. I just know that we got a Christmas card from him every year. Uh,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
he got to know the guest stars. I remember talk about being impressed. Just one of the earliest dates I had with him, it was the open. He invited me to come with him for the opening of Gandhi, the movie. Did
Oh,
you
okay.
ever hear of that? It was a
gotcha.
big deal, and it was sponsored by UNICEF. Jerry was a big donator to UNICEF. And
Interesting.
yeah, so I was his date. And this was a movie house, a theater on 23rd Street in the city. And we walked into the lobby, and Steve Martin was coming towards us. He said, "Hi, Jerry." And he said, "Hi, Steve." And I thought, whoa, I'm
Hmm.
glad I dressed up for this, because it was a big UNICEF thing. And afterwards, there was a party for the donors. Leva Ullman was the spokeswoman for UNICEF. I don't know, maybe she was like she was at a high up position. So there were a lot of celebrities there. And and he knew a lot of them. And I was amazed and impressed.
That's great. That's
Definitely.
wonderful. So now can you kind of talk about, for Jerry getting to, sing on various anime and live action inserts, if you do remember any of them?
Oh yeah, uh, he was well during Muppet Treasure Island. He was the butler. Uh,
Okay.
do you remember that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that film. Yeah.
He had to shave off his beard, and to me, I couldn't stand it when he shaved off his beard. I didn't know him the first time he did that. I could hear his voice and I thought, who is this guy? Because he looked completely different. Well, he shaved off his beard because they were doing that in England. And he had a hard time trying to get his passport through because he looked so different for his real, because he had had to shave off his beard and he was going home and he had a passport. And I forget what he had to go through to actually be able to fly back because he didn't look the same as his passport photo. But
Gotcha.
anyway, that's the
Interesting.
part that sticks in my mind. He wanted to be an actor. That was his first love was being an actor, and he kind of got into puppets in a different way, and basically because he really needed a job. Um, a puppet group that was before uh, Jim Henson. And then he went from there to working with Jim.
That's
Right.
great.
Absolutely. So now, of course, Jerry, of course, worked with the Muppets, did a lot of wonderful characters for that. Now, what was it like getting to see him perform those characters? Because, equally with Sesame Street, he performed a lot of wonderful characters for Muppets.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I saw him perform. I saw him perform in one of Jim Henson had it's like a story. One thing I can think of is story hour, but I don't think it was that. I think um it was a show about ecology, and it was about that golden frog that's going extinct in South America. Does this ring anybody's bell? Can everybody help me out here?
I
Because
don't think so.
I don't
yeah, all
know.
right.
I think so.
Uh,
You good?
um, I don't know. I was kind of afraid, well, not afraid, but I thought, I don't remember so much. I mean, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the characters, they kind of washing up, refreshing your memory of what he got to do, at least some of for the Muppets wise, the Floyd Pepper and Robin and
oh,
Statler and
Floyd Pepper, that was a
New
big
Zealand.
part of Jerry because Jerry, one of his friends, uh, described Jerry as the hippest man on earth. And I agree. He was so hip. Um, and Floyd Pepper was definitely Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also, but on
Wonderful
the other
characters.
hand, Gobo was Jerry. I always thought of
Oh,
Gobo
yes.
and Jerry as
Yeah.
a Boy Scout. He was a Boy Scout. He was
Hmm.
like honesty is
Yeah.
the man.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he,
Which we'll talk about that a little bit.
Jerry was 100% honest. He was a very, very honest man. Very straightforward. It was kind of you knew where you stood.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
of course.
and speaking of Muppet Show, I also loved kind of like the trio that was like Muppet caricatures of Jerry and Jim and Frank. I thought seeing those on the Muppet Show were a lot of fun.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now can you kind of like talk about like, if you do remember like, his involvement in being a part of the original Muppet movies?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the I'm just trying to remember which one it was, that his daughter was in I think it was the second Muppet movie, or was it the, oh yeah, like, all right, there was a kind of a part, they were walking through it was a park, it's a park in London, I can't remember the name. I wasn't, I don't think I had hooked up with, no, of course I hadn't. I knew Christine, his daughter, but I only knew her for 6 months before she passed away. So
Yeah, it was the movie you're talking about. Yeah, it was the second one. Yeah, it was a great Muppet Caper.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that film. Yeah.
yeah. It was,
I
it
mean,
was,
all the Muppet movies, they're great,
yeah,
classics.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now another Muppet project that Jerry definitely had a more prominent role in was the Muppet Christmas Carol, of course, which happened after Jim and Richard had already passed on. Where Jerry performed Robin as Tiny Tim and also him voicing the ghost of Christmas Present, which is another character that I
That's
love that he did.
I love that the thing
Yeah.
that he does, and
Yeah, me too, of course.
I listen to it. I have the CD. It's
Uh,
love to listen
oh
to it.
wow.
Yeah, it's still to this day like a tradition, like for me, like for the
Yes, of
holidays,
course.
I
Yeah, me
love that
too.
movie.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. I love that special so much. It's literally like every single year. I'm always looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. It's well done.
Oh
I
yeah, of course. And Brian Henson, I think that was his first like project he had to do after Jim passed. He did
Yeah,
such a
after
great
like taking,
job.
yeah, he did a great job kind of taking over, for the company and just kind of taking, his dad's reins basically.
Yeah, I was surprised, but he did a great job. Oh, just completely off the subject, not completely off the subject, but
Right.
you had asked me before about Jerry doing real character. Wait a minute. This is Muppet Treasure Island,
Right.
and Blind Pew. Now, Jerry was yeah, he was, no, that was a puppet. But Jerry talked about the scene where the place burns around him and I mean, do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, it was like
Might have
where,
been.
where the play that's like it kind of in the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And how difficult it was. I mean, that was done for real. That wasn't FX, I mean, it
Yeah.
was highly controlled. And Jerry had the puppet, but there was fire all around, and evidently it was uh difficult. But
Yeah. Yeah, I
he
can
didn't
imagine.
He didn't get hurt, so it was okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. So, of course, uh, earlier we had briefly brought up Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas, which of course is a wonderful uh Christmas special that
Yes, it is indeed.
where Jerry uh performed Emmett, and it was just such a wonderful special. What was Jerry's experience like doing that?
Well, he loved it. Again, this is before my time that he did it. So,
Yeah.
but he, um, I think that was one of the favorite things he did. I
Oh
remember,
yeah.
uh, and this is before we got married. I was over at his place, and he put it on, and he was watching it. After a while, he said, I thought this was really bad when I did it. He said, but it's not. It's good. And then he watched it more, it's like he kind of
Mm.
he would be very critical of his performances when right after they were done or when they were doing it. But after a, a little while and he watched them, and then he would like it more. And that's
Oh,
the way it went.
that's great. For us, you getting to watch that special together, like that was that or like earlier, like yeah, like later last year, that was a lot of fun. be again to see that again for the first time in years, and you're watching with us. That was so
What
cool.
always gets me is like think of well how they had to do it. I mean, it was set that was real water, no, nothing
Right.
computerized, everything, and I always love that thing at the end. I mean, you've seen it on the DVD when they show the outtakes of that drum rolling down the thing.
Yeah.
That
It took so many.
like
Yeah.
sew himself down on his back and stuff. I love it.
Oh my
It's
God.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those were great. Yeah, yeah, that special is another wonderful special
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that Jerry just loving it
Yeah.
so much that he just does that. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, so now moving on to Fraggle Rock side of things. Of course, that's when the time you both were already married then, and getting to you got to visit Frogwalk. Said while Jerry's of course doing Gobo and other characters that you got to do for that. What was that kind? Can you kind of talk about like your experience seeing him performing, and if you do remember like his his experience doing that, especially how he is with Gobo, that he always how he was, he was a Boy Scout, and then for for him to have that that mindset for Gobo. So can you kind of jumble to all that, if that makes any sense at all?
Yeah. Well, he was doing something that he loved, and he loved everything about it. He loved the
As well.
storyline. He loved the script. He loved the idea, which was, Jim's idea of having these different levels of creatures that
Right,
all
because they kind of have that show, the type of like where what the reason why the show was kind of created is because it's kind of like stop war, what I remembered.
it's like it was Jim's idea to save the world, to, have
Yeah.
these creatures actually all kind of rely on each other. They don't know it. But towards the end, they get them all together. I'll tell you like when it got to me towards the end, of course, everybody knew what was happening. They were wrapping up the show. And by this time I had been, every time Jerry went up there, I mean, he was up there a half a year exactly. We had to be out of Canada at absolutely after 6 months because that if we weren't, and this is the whole setup with the show and the Canadian government and everything, um, you'd have to pay Canadian income taxes, which are evidently pretty stiff. And so, but anyway, all the time that he was up there, I was up there because the last 2 years we were married. And
Mhm.
it got sad towards the end when you knew, like they were beautiful, great shows, but at, the last show, I cry if I see it today, which I,
Yeah, yeah,
I
it
have,
has like the Magic Be With You song like towards the
yeah,
end. Like
oh,
that was
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah,
It makes me want to like
I know,
well teary-eyed even just hearing it.
I know.
And the music and the writing for that show, Jerry Jewell and the people who
I,
get to do the music for that show was just
it's true,
amazing. And and for what Jerry did to like kind of how he did with Gobo. Gobo is such a wonderful, wonderful
yeah.
character for that. And I think Jerry did. I think he was he was like the Gobo for that. And it really showed.
And it was funny when I used to love the traveling Matt ones where they do the
Yeah.
The
outside
Dave Gold
in
got to do,
Toronto.
yeah.
And it was, I went on one of those things and it was like the one with the garden gnomes. Do you remember this? It,
Yeah.
Traveling
Maybe,
Matt
yeah.
communicates, well, I mean, the gnomes, of course, are just like standing there like garden gnomes do. It was like an outside store that sold them for people's yards. But it was hysterical. I mean, traveling Matt was talking to them and everything.
And actually see Uncle Try Mad like, in the real world.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
Oh, I
yeah.
always did see him in the real world. I'm trying. Yeah, you never saw him. No, you never saw him in Fraggle Rock. He was always on the outside, you know.
Right. Hmm. Yeah.
I,
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And for Jerry got to do that you already mentioned both Marjorie the Trash Heap and
Yeah,
voicing Pa Gork. And they're also wonderful characters too.
I liked Marjorie the Trash Heap a lot.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That character's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and and Fraggle Rock is such a a wonderful show that I'm happy that of course we'll talk a tiny bit of that part later, but like I'm glad that the show is still has a huge following, and that
Yeah.
the new generation will watch their Fraggle Rock, and it's such a great show. I don't think there's gonna be any other shows will have that level than just that. It's just how a special show it was that it can't um um replicate. So
Yeah, it would be
such a
hard.
wonderful
I,
show
I haven't
overall.
watched, see, I haven't watched the new Fraggle Rock because I mean, I absolutely approve of it and everything, but it would
Right.
be difficult. It would be sad for me.
right.
Um,
Makes sense. Yeah.
I would,
Yeah. Right.
I'm not a part of it, any of it anymore, really. So it's like, oh well, it's like it's hard. It's hard for me to see that stuff.
Right.
Totally understandable.
Yeah. So now with all these characters we've talked about that, Jerry, performed over the many years, what are your thoughts about like how Jerry portrayed his characters? Because, he has a lot of range, with his characters.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I mean, he had acting experience before he, you know, went on I mean, even started with that. I mean, so
Right.
he had what it takes. He's a performer. And I mean, he was a performer in real life too. Uh, he could play guitar, he could sing, he had a great voice. And yeah, that's what he did. He was an entertainer. Um, and he was the focus of attention and that's what he liked. That's what he did for a living, and it all worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And how the way like the range that like Jerry got to do and the other characters are like, Jerry is so talented for I mean so many other ways too, of course, but like how he did it for those characters is something special, you know?
No, well, he had that kind of mind. He was
Right.
fast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He could be funny. I
Like he
mean, not all
knows
of the
what
time,
right away.
but just like that, he could pick up something. He could make
Right.
anything come alive. Like
And like matter of seconds even.
like this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Since now we've been talking about like Jerry's side of puppetry stuff. Now, moving on to a musical side of things. What was how does all that came about? For him to do start having his music stuff. That he got to do. You know.
Well, I think he always loved music, and I think he lived with his grandparents for a while when he was very small, and I think he went and spent summers with them. That's in Oklahoma where he was born, and they would pay him. They would pay him. I can't believe it was a quarter in those days. This is like during the Depression. They pay him like a quarter to learn a song on the guitar and sing it. Well, what could be sweeter? And he liked performing too, even as a kid. So that's where that started. And he kept going. He took voice lessons when he was, you know, trying, he was, I guess, studying acting in New York City. And he took like singing lessons, and his teacher told him that he should he should go for opera. And that's how powerful his voice was. So,
Wow.
you know, he didn't particularly want to go for opera because he didn't like opera, but
Right.
that was the extent of his voice. He had a very good voice. Uh,
Absolutely.
Definitely. So now, of course, in 2009, Jerry released his album Truro Daydreams. So now, what was it like getting to kind of combine, of course, your love for Jerry and your love for art by getting to draw the cover for it?
oh, I thought it was great, and I also got to do the design. I mean, the painting I had done, like the that little cabin on the a bay and stuff. I had done that like the year before. And so and he wanted it on the cover, and that was fine. So, had a photograph of it, but I set it up with the pictures. I picked out I had like tons of pictures and stuff, and I laid it out and, made it, I sent it to the printer. I mean, the printer, the people that did the whole CD, but I put it
Oh
together
yeah.
mechanically, and I was extremely proud of myself because packaging is one of the hardest things to do as a graphic designer. I know because I've done it in the past, and it's such like, and they had a, what do you call it? Uh, not a stencil, a thing where you put picture there that I don't know. It's hard to
Okay.
describe, but I was proud of it, and it was really nice that we had something we could give to somebody where I had something to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, of
So
course, Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love that album. It's so great. And especially, where I mean, some like Sesame people got to be involved in that, like
oh
Paul
yeah, there were a
Rudolph,
lot of
and
them.
they're great, and Kevin and Fran and
Kevin Clash financed it. He paid for two
yeah.
rentals at NOLA Sound Studio, and then he and for the pressing of the first CD, and then
Oh, wow.
from
Right.
there,
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And for them, for both Kevin and Fran get to be like involved in the Little Red song, which I love. Yeah,
Yeah.
the packaging for this is pretty cool. It has like some like pictures, like all of them like together.
Yeah, there you
Like
go.
Yeah,
yeah, and there's like and look Jerry, recording sessions and the set list on there, and of course him in the back. So which
that's a
I love that picture. Yeah.
that's a very sweet photograph of Jerry, and I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah.
remember that Richard Termini who took
Oh,
that.
Richard, yeah, he's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, they were
Yeah,
really
such a great
excellent photos.
album.
And there's even Jerry's my Jerry's and my grandson is in there. Is
Right. Okay.
Aw. I've noticed that you've got all
Yeah.
these little
Yeah.
characters around. That's really cool. I love it. I've got a lot
Yeah.
of stuff too, by the
Yeah.
way. It's not
Right.
behind. I've got, I don't know if you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There you go.
I saw that. Yeah, I love that picture.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
where I
same.
like to do Zoom calls, that I could.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I got all these, DVDs of Sesame
That's a
like
cute
Treasure
Gobo.
Island and Emmet Otter Chuckling Christmas DVD, and of course that, that's all I got. But I mean, both me and Chris have a
Yeah, of
huge
course.
collection of Jerry's characters and his
Yeah.
involvement, so
Yeah.
they're just pretty cool. Now can you kind of talk about your thoughts about the legacy that like that Jerry's work has made over around the world over the years, for what he did, to kind of make have people have special place for for what Jerry got to do that made for
Yeah.
his like contributions that still lives on and still gets talked about.
Well, I think it's great. I really I try to talk to people as much as possible about Jerry. I mean, I love to talk about him because I love
Right.
him. I loved him before and I
Of
still love
course.
him now. And it's it's like if I can put forward stuff that Jerry the person that he was, and of course the person he was is what shows up in all these characters. There's a little bit of Jerry, and actually every puppeteer, there's themselves, it comes out in the character. I don't think they can even help it, you know.
Hmm.
That's why they're so
Right.
unique person. Um,
You know, yeah. And of course, us, as well, some who are Muppet fans, I mean, we still talk about Jerry and what for what he did and
and
how he is as a performer, a singer and all that, so for what he did, it makes a lot of happiness even for what he did, so of course we really appreciate for what he did, that his legacy was still lives on, and
yeah,
hopefully it will always will be. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I hope so, and I would, you know, I wish Jerry could know it, and maybe he can,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So after talking about Jerry's puppetry side and his musical side, what was Jerry like as a person?
he was an amazing person. He really was. He was very open. He he never stopped learning and working on himself, and you know, he was a very deep person. Um,
Yeah.
Not super serious in that
Right.
way, but like for example, he read a lot about Zen Buddhism,
Hmm.
that kind of, he worked on his interior a lot, uh and he was naturally kind. He didn't have to work at it. He sensed people, and he kind of, I don't know, he gave people space to be themselves, and I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but
Yeah.
it's like that he saw them, and he
Right.
saw who they were, and and was nice to them.
Yeah.
That probably
Yeah.
just about sums it up. And he was very
Right.
giving. He gave like it just he gave a lot he gave 10% of what he earned in a year back. He gave to a lot of the children's charities. UNICEF was big, and then you know, he he gave to them. And
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. He'll be
Yeah.
definitely missed. He's definitely missed
Yes,
by all.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, of
so
course.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what, of course, throughout, his lifetime, of course he got to, share, so many wonderful, stories, for what he did, with, Muppets and Sesame and a lot of other things, because I remember like he was going to like he was first like involved um in a documentary or something. I think it is, which is called Muppet Guys Talking, which I think he was involved in
oh
that.
yeah, I was there, but I wasn't. Of course, I wasn't in it, but I was in
Right.
that loft,
That's a cool documentary.
Frank and all those
Yeah.
guys sitting around.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and Bill and he's
yeah,
wonderful, and Fran and Dave and Frank,
yeah. That was good. I had to make myself scarce, so and I got I kind of walked around. It was a cool loft, so I was off taking pictures in another part of the loft and out the window and stuff. The thing
Uh,
is, one of the I was watching, when you interviewed Debbie and stuff, I thought she knows. everything that was going on. But because I
Oh
was
yes.
kind of in my own world, uh, so that's one reason why I don't remember a whole lot of stuff. She remembers a lot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, such a cool documentary indeed. So
Oh yeah,
now, so of course, Jerry's, involvement with Sesame and Muppet, now his characters has now got to being inherited by amazing both Matt Vogel and
yeah,
Gobo being inherited by the amazing no another
John,
wonderful name John
John,
Tartaglia.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yes. Can you kind of talk about your thoughts about them, continuing, Jerry's legacy, and their legacy of the characters to keep it going for a new generation?
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Act like I said, I haven't been really able to watch the new Fraggle Rock, but I know from everybody that he's doing a great job. John Tartaglia is doing just a,
He,
He's
yeah,
awesome.
he
yeah.
is
Oh, he
such a
is.
down-to-earth guy ever.
Yeah, I mean, I know him,
Yeah, of course.
and everything else, but so I know he's a terrific human being and very good
Yes, he
looking.
is.
I mean, you can't help but think of that. And uh and Matt Vogel is just wonderful, And he and Kelly, they came over here to, Truro, and I think they stayed for a couple of weeks at least. And he and Jerry did a show for like the Payomet Theater that was just getting started here then. I forget what year that was. But Jerry was grooming him because Jerry knew that he wasn't going to be around forever, and he knew that
Right.
he had
Right, because
some.
both of them got to work alongside and became good friends, and then when Jerry's like can't do basically puppeteering when you come into the voice, Matt
Yeah,
does the puppetry and has to
And
lip
did it
sync what
really
Jerry is
well
doing.
too.
yeah. They
Absolutely,
had that simpatico that
that whole bond that they know what they can do together, to keep the
Yeah.
character, while Jerry can't do that,
yeah.
in
But
that
Jerry
time.
was towards the end. I mean, Jerry died in the saddle. I mean, he was working right up until the time that he left, And he had there in Eastham, there's a sound studio that he would go to, and it was just, he'd just go in the booth, and he had the script, which he always went over the scripts and like
Yeah.
I think he memorized them. But anyway, he'd just get in there and it worked, So you can see the visual, I mean, on the screen and stuff. There was a sound engineer doing his thing, and that was it, So he was continuing to work for Sesame Street
Yeah,
in 2012. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Matt and Johnny, they're like, they're such a wonderful people that, of course, we got to chat with both of them previously. They're wonderful, but I don't want to mention, since we already did with Matt, I don't want to talk, with Johnny because, he's not just keep going with Gobo, which I'm thinking, he's doing such a great job doing that, but now he's doing for Henson now. He's now, creative consultant, executive producer, and director, writer for Back to Rock now, which, Johnny is like, it really showed how much he really cared about, for him being like a fan of the original show to like him have his chance to do something with the new generation. I think he's doing such a wonderful job doing that. Not just, the character itself, but just keep going the franchise itself. And,
uh-huh.
both Matt and Johnny, they're doing an amazing job that I'm sure both, uh, you uh, Jerry will be, he'll be absolutely be, be very proud of what they're doing. I can imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I really think so because, he liked him. And he also wanted,
Yeah.
you know, he would have wanted everything to go on.
Right.
Of course, that's
Absolutely.
how Jerry is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what was it like getting to attend the Fraggle Rock 30th anniversary reunion in Toronto?
It was it was great. It was great because I got to share uh well, I got a house like from VBRO, uh vacation by rental owner, yeah. And it, Jocelyn Stevenson and myself and
Jocelyn, yeah, she's the
Yeah, oh
best. She's
my
wonderful.
goodness.
She
Cool.
is so lovely. She's
And
one of the wonderful people ever.
Susan
She's the best.
Jewell and
Right.
I think Karen Prell was there, and
Right.
we had five, and me. Yeah. Anyway, we had a good time, and we went to the reunion, and it was the cake was made by, I guess, I don't know, Cake Boss was. Did you ever see a picture of the Fraggle Rock cake?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Actually, right now, I was searching this up as
I
we
can't figure out a way to
speak.
show it to you, but I have it. This is one of the, I keep all my pictures on my phone, every single one. I mean, not the ones we take in a camera, but every
Right.
picture I've ever taken with an iPhone, I have on my iPhone. And I'll send it to you one of these days, like
Okay.
after we're finished. But
Right.
it was so amazing because it was all the Fraggles, this big green cake.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
cool. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's
it was
brilliant.
delicious. I'm telling you, that's one of the best cakes I've ever had in my life. It was
Wow.
icing was
That's
so
cool.
good. It was like a buttercream icing. I'm getting hungry thinking of it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. And, just seeing everybody and it was nice.
That's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Yes, of course. That's cool to have that event to celebrate the 30 years in Fraggle, which is pretty cool. Now it's like over 40, which is like, oh my goodness.
That's, yeah.
Wow itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Been around for a long time now. Oh, there's a whole long
Yep.
time, you know, you didn't see him.
Right.
Although they still ran, didn't they run reruns?
Yeah, for like a little bit at the Hub Network, which is that's how I got to first expose with
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
and of
Yeah,
course I have the
okay.
whole complete series DVD, and now so I can watch it all
Hmm.
episodes, which is pretty cool. But but yeah, so I think that's how the reruns thing came about with Fraggle. So yeah. So now since we're about to getting close to wrap things up soon, I'm kind of curious. Can you kind of talk about what you've been doing now? Kind of what you've been doing these days?
It's like for some reason there seems to be a lot of work in maintenance on myself and the old house that is all around me here. And it's like the house is over 200 years old that I live in. So there's a lot of
Wow.
work. But so I do a
Oh
whole
wow.
lot of work. And then, of course, I like to paint, but more recently I've been kind of trying to get back into cartooning, which is it's harder than I thought it
Okay.
would. When you leave something alone
Right.
for a while and you go back to it, it's it's just difficult. And I don't try to like do realistic drawings for cartoons. I just draw the way I draw. And, you know, but I try to also think of stuff. I want to think of different type of stuff to paint and, you know, I don't know. It's like I used to be able to do a cartoon of just some event that happened in my life, but now there's not that much. that, I can't make a cartoon of me, vacuuming the floor or fixing the sink or something like that.
Right. It's a it's a whole different technology now than compared to back
Yeah,
then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember like, when we chat with, speaking of, Debbie, briefly back to that real quick before asking the last question. I know that, when we got to chat with her, I know like that she said like that she's like trying to have like kind of like a kind of museum like exhibit or something, to show like Carol's legacy, if I remembered. So that's pretty cool that she's kind of like trying to
He's
get
pushing,
that happen,
he's pushing a lot of Carol stuff forward, which is really good. I
Yeah.
admire
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm very proud of, for
Yeah,
her to kind of,
she has a nice community too. She lives in a section of Connecticut that is very
right.
beautiful. I mean, you know, it's Quiet Corner. They call it Quiet Corners, and it's in the western part of Connecticut. And it's like kind of rolling hills and incredible forests. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was in the Black Forest in Germany when with these massive trees like this, are like huge forests, and I didn't even know, like I've heard about it, but I had never seen anything
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So yeah, since we're about to wrap things up, last question that Chris is about to ask. We usually ask every single guest at the very end. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Jake. So this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or how would you define nostalgia?
Me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
s- Nostalgia is it's like something sweet and older, not that, I don't know. Is that lame? We could,
No, not at all.
I don't know. It's like something that makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy inside.
I could definitely get where it's
That's
kind of.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, Jan, thank you so much for taking time to do this. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for asking me to do it. I love it. And it's
Yeah. Yeah, of course, Jan. Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much doing this, and keep up great work with what's been happening for you on your ends, and looking for, what's more, even to do for more, to keep up legacy, for Jerry and well, things down the road.
keep in touch.
Thank you again, Jan.
Really
Yeah,
keep it.
You as
of
well.
Okay.
course.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, Jan. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you very
of
much.
course. Of course, Jan.
Yes.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks again, Jan. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
And it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time speaking with the wonderful wife of Jerry Nelson, Jan Nelson. Keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Yes, keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.